Hey everyone, I am so excited to have another special guest that has served in the military. So I'm excited for you guys to meet Chaz. Chaz, would you take a few minutes and introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, what you do, and where you're from.
Hey, everybody. First off, just wanted to take a couple seconds and thank Ms. Clark for the opportunity to speak with you today. As she mentioned, Chaz Smith here, 2008 Wilson graduate. Proud of that fact and proud of the foundation that it laid for me in my career in the military and civilian side. So, big picture, Air Force pilot, commercial airline pilot, living in New York City now, a long ways away from Zip City, but it'll always be home. Have a wife, no kids, no dogs, because you can't have that in a tiny little New York City apartment. So excited to share with you a little bit about how my start at Wilson took me to where I am today.
Yeah, absolutely. We would love for you to share your journey from Wilson High School to New York City.
Awesome. Well, I created a little slideshow, so if it's good with you, I'll go ahead and share that with everybody.
Sounds good.
So this is going to be a big divider of all the students probably. Started at Wilson, but depending on how you feel, I ended up at Auburn University, going through their aviation management program there. So I graduated Wilson 2008, went straight to Auburn, graduated in 2011, and then through a couple of zigzags of my career, ended up back at UNA getting my MBA in 2014. Um, while I was at UNA, I realized that I still really wanted to be a pilot. And if you didn't know it or not, it takes a lot of money to become a pilot. I'm talking like $100,000 to $150,000 of money out of your pocket. So I didn't have that kind of money, but luckily the military will train you for free if you're willing to give your life over to them for a little while. So in that year of getting my MBA, I applied to the Air Force, and I thought it'd be fun to show you where that decision to apply to the Air Force took me on the next map. So, where the heart is, that's Florence, Alabama, because that's where my family still lives, and I come back there from time to time. My initial stop out of college was in Wyoming, of all places, working for a bit, and then came back, got my master's at UNA. Eventually, the Air Force took me to Del Rio, Texas, which is the bottom left corner there, right on the border of Mexico. That's where you do all your pilot training for the Air Force. It's about a 2.5 year program to become a pilot. So from Del Rio, Texas, I moved to Little Rock, Arkansas. That's where the Air Force taught me how to fly the C-130. And then from Little Rock, Arkansas, moved to Montgomery, Alabama, which was my first real Air Force station and where I flew C-130s for a long time. Back in 2022, the Air Force decided to shut us down, so I needed to find a new home. And since I was already living in New York City, I found a new Air Force base out on Long Island. Uh, in my spare time, when I'm not flying for the Air Force full time, I actually fly for an airline. So you'll see, I think there's a little Piedmont logo there. I flew for them for a while in Philadelphia, then JetBlue, which is another airline in Boston, and then Delta now, currently out of New York. So you're looking for a career that will take you all over the world and let you see a lot of cool things. This is definitely the one for you. So I thought I'd take just a couple minutes to talk about the career progression of an Air Force pilot. So you're sitting in your seats right now, right? You're thinking, kind of sounds cool. Always thought about seeing the world. Well, it takes a little time, and there's a few hoops you got to jump through to actually become a pilot. So on the left side of your screen, that's your first stop as an Air Force pilot. You go to pilot training, you fly some really cool airplanes. The one on the top left is the T6. It's like a World War II, like fighter plane essentially. And you fly it in formation, you do loops in the skies, all this crazy stuff that I probably never want to do again. Uh, and then you go and you fly a little business jet to teach you a few more things. And then eventually, like I said, you end up in the training that the Air Force does to teach you how to fly the plane they really want you to fly for the rest of your career, which for me was the C-130. So in the middle, I flew that version of the plane for about 6 years. And what we can do with that plane is drop people out of the back of it. We can drop supplies to people behind enemy lines. We can do a whole lot of stuff that's pretty cool. And then the far side of the screen, that's my current plane. It's the C-130, but it's a very specialized version of the C-130, and it has a really cool mission. The mission of this airplane is actually to save lives. It's a combat search and rescue platform is what they call it. So let's say an airplane crashes, unfortunately, and they need somebody to come find them. They'll send us out, and with some helicopters and other people in the Air Force assets, we can go out there and rescue this person and bring them home safely. And so for me, I think it's a really cool mission because not many other people in the military can say their job is to save lives. And so because of that, it's fun to get up every day and go do the job. So I do all this part-time. I'm not an active duty Air Force person, but we still get to do all the fun things that the active duty Air Force does. So as I mentioned, my full-time job actually is to be an airline pilot. So once you get enough hours with the military or whichever route you decide to go, you typically get hired on with a small little airline flying from like point A to point B. So for me, I flew for Piedmont Airlines out of Philadelphia, flying this small airplane with 50 seats on it. We would do routes like, take for example, Huntsville to Charlotte or Huntsville to Atlanta, something like that. Pretty small, but a way to like build hours and experience in the airline world. So you get enough experience under your belt, and then the big guys start calling you. So JetBlue called me, and I was based out of Boston, Massachusetts for them for a while, flying the Airbus fleet. But ultimately, my goal was to get to Delta Airlines. It's kind of the cream of the crop in the airline world, and it's been a really, really fun ride. I've been with them for 2 years now, flying the Airbus family of 319s, 320, 321s. Probably means nothing to anybody in the room unless you like airplanes. But big picture, my goal when I bid for a schedule every single month is just to fly from New York to the beaches of California, sit on the beach for like a day, and then come home. And that's pretty much all I do. It's a great lifestyle. And I'm based out of New York, so I'm like 20 minutes from the airport. It's super, super easy. And then I didn't mention, but you get 18 days off a month. So it's not a bad deal. And it also allows you to still do your military work on the side as well. So if you're sitting in your seats and I haven't convinced you yet, here's a few pictures of where this career has taken me. So a couple pictures on the top are of me landing on a dirt runway in the C-130, like of all things, just a dirt road, basically. The top right is going down the Hudson River of New York City. I do this maybe once a week, and you get to see the World Trade Center and all the cool sights and sounds in New York City. The bottom pictures are just me flying in the airline world. Bottom left is me and my wife at a nice dinner that Delta put on for its pilots when you get hired. And then some cool pictures in the bottom right of me flying the T6 again. So once again, you're sitting in your seats, you're wondering what in the world and how in the world can I get into something like this? Well, it's literally the perfect time for someone who's in high school to start thinking about becoming a pilot. If you look at these headlines, like literally, I took 10 minutes and found all of this information. There are articles everywhere talking about the pilot shortage. So big picture, there's a lot of older people in the airline industry that are retiring. And because of that, people who are younger, like myself, and especially people like you sitting in your seats, it's like the perfect time. So if that doesn't convince you enough, look at the middle picture. Like enough said, right? Delta Airlines, your first year pay, $322,000. By 6th year, you're making $330,000. And then if you look at the far right one, over the course of a 40-year career, a pilot for Delta can make $21 million. Like, it's not bad for a
Yeah.
kid from Zip City, you know? So, um, I say all that to say, like, it's a great opportunity for people who are looking to travel the world, who want really good quality of life. Like, you want some days off, you want time to yourself to do whatever you really enjoy doing, and and I feel like when I show up to work, I'm not actually working. Like, it's actually fun.
Yeah, that is so interesting. I love that you shared your journey with us. You mentioned that in order to become a pilot, obviously it takes a lot of time. You've got to get your flight hours in. But had you not gone the route of the Air Force, would it have taken you longer?
So there are multiple ways to get to the end goal, right? The military is only one of them. Um, had I not gone the military route, there are flight schools at pretty much every airport. So if you were to call up Muscle Shoals Airport right now, who will essentially start you from point A and get you to point B. And if you have enough money, they will take you all the way to where you can build enough hours to become an airline pilot.
Mhm.
It The Air Force route took about maybe 3, 4 years total. You could probably get there quicker if you went the route of just flying at the local airport. So it's
Cost a whole lot more money.
yeah, exactly. I was going to say there's pros and cons.
Yeah. So I love that I mean, you've been all over the world. It sounds like you have a really great lifestyle, flying to the beaches of California. What would you say was has been the very best aspect of serving in the Air Force?
Uh, Definitely the part where you feel like when you show up to work, you're making a difference for sure. Like, that's not to say that there's not challenges, right? But um, the people that you work with, the things that are tough, but yet build such deep friendships are the things that I will always cherish. And at someday I'll end up missing as well.
Mhm. So on that note, what would you say is the most challenging aspect of serving in the military?
Maybe the unknowns.
Mhm.
I was sitting here thinking about that earlier and how the military, as predictable as it can be, there are some things like if a war kicks off, you don't know what's going to happen. Um, if maybe the local flying schedule, which should be easy, maybe someone doesn't show up. Like if you're the full-time guy, you're flying that day and now you can't go to dinner with your family kind of thing. So it can be really challenging to plan sometimes. And that's probably taken me the most to get used to.
Yeah. So what would you say to students that maybe are not sure what they want to do after high school? What advice do you have for those kids that are still just trying to figure it out?
Well, what I would say is just try it. Whatever you're thinking about doing, try it. And there's always going to be somebody to tell you you're not good enough, you're not qualified for this. But you know what? You can prove them different. You
Mhm.
can go out with hard work, and hard work will do a lot for you in this world. I promise.
Yeah. I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Do you have any last words of advice or anything we didn't touch on that you would like to share with students?
There are lots of resources, particularly to become a pilot. I would say feel free to reach out to Miss Clark. She has my contact information. I'm happy to chat with anyone. I'm in and out of Florence pretty often, so if the opportunity comes up for me to swing by the school and say hi, I'd love to. Also, feel free to reach out to the local airport if it's something you're interested in. There are lots of people there who are really passionate about aviation and they'd love to chat with you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Chaz, and we appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.